Welcome to This Explainer. We're right in the middle of a massive structural shift in tech, literally watching the move toward autonomous AI agents. And we're not just talking about simple chatbots anymore, right? We're talking about AI systems that actually go out and do things on your behalf. Today, drawing from Anand Vemula's Tech Horizon channel, we're looking at the massive safety questions this raises. Because handing over the keys to an AI, well, that's kind of risky. So how do we build an architecture that actually works? Let's find out. This brings us to the ultimate implicit challenge of our time. How do AI agents act safely and responsibly? You know, the real world isn't some neat, tidy laboratory. It's incredibly unpredictable. If an AI is operating autonomously out there, it needs a rock-solid framework to prevent things from going wildly off the rails. The ultimate solution presented in our source material is a concept called agentic consent. Think of it as the ultimate set of guardrails for artificial intelligence. Okay, let's dive into this. To really understand how this works, we've got to look at this foundational definition from Grant Miller. He states, agentic consent defines who delegates authority, what actions are allowed, and for how long. I want you to burn this definition into your memory because it forms the entire bedrock of AI governance. We aren't just talking about basic security passwords here. No, we're talking about a highly specific, ironclad contract between a human and a machine. To really grasp the gravity of this, we need to break that quote down into its three non-negotiable mandates. Number 1, who delegates authority? Number 2, allowed actions. And number 3, time limits. If you're missing even one of these three pillars, the entire structure of agentic consent just collapses. You no longer have a trustworthy autonomous agent, you basically just have a rogue piece of software running wild. Let's look a little closer at each of these. Starting with the very first rule, who exactly delegates authority? I want you to imagine, just for a second, who actually holds the keys to hand over power to the AI? Is it an intern? Is it the CEO? Is it you? Before an AI agent can execute a single command, the architecture absolutely must definitively prove the identity of the person pulling the strings. You just can't have anonymous or ambiguous delegation. The system needs to know exactly who is authorizing the action. So, the crucial point is, once we know who is delegating, we have to define exactly what actions are allowed. Imagine handing someone your company credit card. You wouldn't just say, hey, go buy things, right? You'd say, you're allowed to buy lunch for the team under $50. AI agents require that exact same level of strict boundary setting. They need to know they're allowed to, say, draft an email, but absolutely not allowed to hit send without a human checking it first. And finally, for how long? Honestly, this is perhaps the most critical, yet frequently overlooked aspect of consent. Giving an AI permanent, infinite access to your systems is just a recipe for disaster. It's like an AI script that accidentally runs all weekend and suddenly racks up a $10,000 cloud server bill. The consent must expire. Whether it's access granted for 10 minutes for a quick data transfer or maybe 1 hour to monitor a server, limiting the duration prevents permanent, unchecked autonomy. So, how do we actually execute those mandates on a technical level? Well, through granular permissions. This is the underlying technical architecture that makes allowed actions and time limits possible in the first place. Granular permissions are precise, highly specific access rights granted to an AI agent to perform exact limited tasks. We aren't giving the AI the master key to the whole building, we're giving it a temporary digital keycard that only opens room 402 on a Tuesday between 2 p.m. and 3 p.m. And this brilliantly illustrates how the technical backend perfectly aligns with our three rules. It operates on three distinct pillars. Identity protocols confirm the who. Governance provides the overarching rules and policies to ensure responsible behavior. And those granular permissions, they strictly enforce the what and the how long. Together, these pillars form a completely watertight architecture that ensures the AI simply cannot escape its designated sandbox. But here's where the plot thickens. Let's move to and see how this builds when we introduce dynamic environments. It's one thing for an AI to behave safely in a perfectly controlled static test lab. It is entirely another thing for an AI to survive and adapt in the real world, where things are constantly shifting, updating, and breaking all around it. The architecture of agentic consent has to be robust enough to handle the totally unexpected without freezing up or making a catastrophic mistake. So how does it survive all that chaos? Well, the source material highlights three specific lifelines. First up, context. The AI must continuously read the room to understand what is happening right now. Second, continuous consent. It has to constantly double-check its actions against those granular permissions we talked about.
And third, just-in-time prompts. Rather than relying on some massive, outdated rulebook, the system dynamically prompts the agent, or the human, for permission at the exact second a new decision is needed.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the stark contrast against legacy systems. On one side, we have static, rigid, pre-programmed AI. If X happens, do Y. But if Z happens, the system just crashes because it wasn't programmed for Z. On the other side, we have modern agentic consent, dynamic, fluid safety. Using just-in-time prompts based on real-time context, the AI can pause, evaluate the new situation, check its permissions, and navigate safely. It's literally the difference between a train stuck on a rigid track and a self-driving car adapting to a busy city street. Which brings us to the ultimate goal here, building trustworthy autonomous AI. Trust isn't just something we blindly hand over to technology, right? It is something that absolutely must be engineered into the very fabric of the system. By combining rock-solid identity verification, strict governance policies, and dynamic, context-aware prompts, we create a system that doesn't just act smart, but acts responsibly. We get an AI we can actually trust to delegate our important tasks to. Of course, an explainer like this can really only scratch the surface of an architecture this profound. If you want to continue your own deep dive into the nuts and bolts of governance, the source material points directly to an excellent resource. You can learn more by visiting ibm.biz/dv19n5uw. I highly recommend checking it out if you're involved in deploying or managing AI systems in literally any capacity. As we wrap up, I want to leave you with this vital question to consider for your own organizations. When AI acts autonomously, have you actually defined its boundaries? Do you know exactly who is delegating, what they are allowed to do, and precisely when that permission expires? The future of tech isn't just about making AI smarter, it's about making our governance of it wiser. Thank you so much for joining me to explore this incredibly important topic.